Hi. So I wanted to talk about something very important today. Why it's so important to listen to your own intuition instead of asking other people for advice or their opinions regarding whatever situation it is actually. Sometimes it's good to ask other people, don't get me wrong. I mean, it's good to get feedback, but it kind of depends on what kind of subject it is and what kind of questions you're asking, basically. So if you're asking other people about advice, about what you should do in a certain situation and something like this, I don't really think that that it's the best to ask people about this, because most people in the world today, they are very selfish. So most people in the world, they just want the best for what's the best for them. This is not everyone in the world, I know that. There is compassionate people out there, but most people in the world are driven by their own ego and not by their heart or their higher self. No one knows you better than you. The only person who actually knows what you deserve and what's best for you is you. No one else actually knows that except you. So that's why we shouldn't really ask other people's advice or their opinions about what you should do in a certain situation, because you know yourself and you know what makes you happy. You actually have the answer within already. When we're asking other people for their opinions or their advice, it can mostly confuse us because they are saying something else than what our heart is already trying to tell us. They're answering your question from their own perspectives or their own ego or their own interests. It's different, of course, from different people, but one may be wanting something for themselves. Some other people are maybe confused themselves, so they are maybe manipulating, or they are jealous, or they are just operating from ego, basically, or they just want something for themselves. And this is usually unconscious, so don't get me wrong, it's usually not people doing this from a conscious matter. This is usually from like childhood stuff about why they do certain ways. So they're not really doing it to hurt you in a conscious manner or something like this. If you're asking for advice and you just feel confused by their advice, they're doing it from an unconscious matter just because they don't really know better. You have all of the answers within you. I also actually suggest to ask spirit. If you are confused yourself, maybe you don't know what to do, or you need some advice or some guidance or whatever, then it's always best to reach out to your spirit team or to your higher self or to God or to your angels, or to your angels, or whoever you believe in, it's whoever you believe in, a higher power, because the higher power always wants the best for us. And sometimes our spirit guides can be a bit sneaky and tell us to do stuff that maybe we think isn't really the best for us, but it's actually learning us a lesson. So we should always listen to spirit, we should always listen to our inner self and our inner guidance. Just because we're in a situation and we're not happy in that situation, it doesn't mean that it wasn't for our highest good, because maybe we needed to learn a certain big lesson in our life. Most people in the world, they want the best for them. Most people in the world want the best for them and not for you. Even though it sounds harsh, it's true. And this can be anyone, this can even be family members, they can even be friends that we actually put trust in and that we actually love, So life can be pretty harsh sometimes, because especially if you're giving a lot and if you're a very empathic person, they can use your open heart to themselves, or to lure you, or to manipulate you and stuff like that. I've been through some hard friendships in my life in my past decade, I guess. Yeah, most of my friendships, not everyone, of course, I have beautiful friendships and you know who you are out there. But most people that I've met during my life for a couple of decades has been toxic or manipulating, and I was also toxic, so that's kind of why we vibed in the same vibe, But enough of the past. We don't need to talk about the past anymore, because that's just the past, and now is now. When people are hurt or when people are lost in their life, other people can actually see this advantage. They can see the advantage and they can use you. So they can use you. They can use your love, because they are so broken that they can't understand that they can love themselves. So these people can be narcissists. They can also be people with narcissistic behavior, so it doesn't really need as bad as being a full-blown narcissist, but They can have narcissistic behavior maybe because their parent was a narcissist, or they have been in a relationship during their time that has been very narcissistic, and then all of a sudden they turn into a narcissist, or they have very narcissistic behaviors. This can be pretty hard to hear maybe, because we want to trust everyone. We want to give trust and we want to love people. But the reality is that we can't do that all the time. We should trust the people that are worth to believe, that we actually can trust. Only spirit or your higher self or your inner guidance can help you to determine who you can trust and not. Your ego is gonna probably want to protect you from people, and therefore if we have been in a situation where we can't trust other people, we're gonna have a very, 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 very strong guard or strong wall. So we're gonna have a very strong wall over our hearts, so we're never gonna be in that situation again, because who wants to be manipulated? Who wants to be cheated on? Who wants to be around a narcissistic person? No one wants that, but we are in those situations, unfortunately, to maybe learn a lesson that we can't really trust everybody. Not everybody is trustworthy, but there is people who are like that. Just because most people in the world are not, doesn't mean that no one is. If you're not familiar with narcissism, I suggest that you look it up. But also remember that some people that we meet doesn't need to be a full-blown narcissist. It can just be narcissistic behaviors, and usually this kind of persons is like this because they have grown up in a very broken family, or they have grown up with relationship that is narcissistic. This may seem a bit heartbreaking, but it is the truth. And people need to know the truth, and that's the most important thing in our life, especially people who get used, especially people who are in abusive relationships or in toxic relationships. So this can be romantic relationships or friendships. It doesn't really matter, because it's still a relationship, and it's still someone who gets used, and it's still behaviors that is not okay anymore. It's not okay to treat people like that. It's not okay for anyone. But the thing is that everyone deserves love, even people who makes this stupid and very, very mean stuff to other people. They deserve love also, because that's how we're gonna transcend. Everyone in this world needs love, and everyone deserves love, and no one is gonna be left out alone. No one. But sometimes we need to maybe learn our lesson and to understand maybe why we do certain things, so we can understand the root problem of it. Most people know that they are narcissistic, but they are not still doing anything about it because they need a lot of healing, or they need a lot of therapy. And I really strongly believe that plants, I truly believe that mushrooms or ayahuasca or LSD, acid, or whatever psychedelic now it is, but I strongly believe that natural psychedelics is a much more helpful tool. So this has just been an example, but I don't even know why I come into narcissistic people. I've been in a situation where I ask people about what I should do and stuff like this, and I've noticed that every time I ask people about advice or their opinions in a situation, especially if it's like a bigger issue in my life, or if it's like a big choice, when I listen to them and I do what they say, it feels very weird in my stomach. It feels bad. It feels like I haven't really listened to myself, and that's a big warning sign that they don't know what's best for you. The only one who knows what's best for you is spirit, and you are spirit, so it's yourself. We don't need to ask, because we already know what we want. Deep inside, we already know what we deserve, we already know what we want, and we already know what's best for us. And if we don't know that, then we can go into meditation. The only one who knows you completely is yourself. Not even your family know you 100%, and not even your friends, even though we feel that we can trust their advice and stuff like that. And of course we can listen to their feedback. It's a beautiful thing to get feedback from our friends, but at the end you should always listen to yourself. Like, the wisdom is within you, and the answers is within you, and your heart is leading you the way. Like, spirit wants the best for you always. People have their own egoistic tendencies, so they usually want what they can get from you, or what's best for them, or they are just unaware of your situation and unaware of who you are, so they don't really know what's best for you. Like, everyone just wants the best for themselves, but I don't think that it's such a bad thing in a way, because we all want to be happy. Everyone just want to be happy. That's normal. I mean, why shouldn't we want to be happy? We want our dreams to be fulfilled, but it's different on using other people to get your dreams fulfilled instead of taking care of it by your own. So I'm tired of people using me, I'm tired of people manipulating me. But I have finally gotten like a big radar, like I'm gonna notice in an instant if someone is trying to do this to me, so watch out, because I'm gonna cut you with my words, because I don't use violence. Violence is never the answer, never. Words can be a very, very strong weapon, but we shouldn't use it as a weapon, we should use it as a liberation, to get our words out in the world instead of using it as something to hurt people. Most people just do this unconsciously, so it's not their fault, there's no one's fault, it's no one's fault. They grew up in very bad situation in their life, they maybe had a very broken family and stuff like that, so it's not their fault. We can see them as a broken little kid that is just trying to get attention. Have a beautiful day. I'm sorry about the depressing subjects, but I needed to get this out from my chest. Take care of yourself and be careful of who you surround yourself with, but you don't need to be too careful, because there are people out there who you can trust. But we need to just listen to our intuition about it, and not our mind and not our ego. Our intuition always wants the best for our highest good. It can lure us into situation, but it always wants the best for our highest good, and it loves us unconditionally. So have a beautiful day. Thank you for watching, and subscribe.